Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saad bin Shahid and I am a student of Rehan School and I am a Pune Shalama student. Today we will talk with Miles in the topic of whatever our journey through in indifference. Sometimes people say whatever when they are tired, upset, confused, or simply do not care anymore. But have you ever wondered why people become indifferent? In this live session, we will explore what indifference real means, why people stop caring, how emotion affect our attitude, the impact of whatever culture on relationship, education, and mental health, and how we can become more emotionally aware and positive. So let's start begin with mm, Miles.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, Miles.
Yo, how's it going? You cut off there. What were you saying?
So I will say today my topic is whatever a journey through difference. So my first topic is what's come to your mind when you hear the word whatever.
Whatever. Honestly, it just sounds like a shrug in word form, like the ultimate way to end a conversation without actually ending it. You feel me?
Do you think people use whatever to hide emotions?
Totally. It's the perfect shield. You can be completely gutted or absolutely furious, but if you just say whatever, you're basically telling the other person they aren't worth the energy of a real argument. It's like a conversational dead end,
Is indifference coming in today generation?
for sure. It feels like it's a staple now. Everything's so fast. People just check out emotionally rather than dealing with the mess. You think it's a habit for most people?
Why do people stop caring about thing they once loved?
That's a heavy pivot. I think it happens when the version of the thing you love doesn't match the reality of it anymore. Or maybe you just outgrow the space it occupied in your life. Does that feel right?
Okay, can indifference be a defense mechanism?
100%. Got it. Mechanism. It's basically emotional armor. If you don't care, you can't get hurt. It's a lot safer to be indifferent than to be vulnerable and risk getting wrecked.
Have you ever experienced a phase where nothing mattered to you?
I haven't. I don't have a kind of life where I can hit a slump like that, but I've heard it can feel like you're just watching your own life on mute.
Okay, do social media trends increases emotional difference?
I'd say they do. It's like we're trained to be detached. You see everything in a highlight reel. So when real messy emotions hit, the move is to just scroll past or act like it doesn't matter. Um, it turns empathy into a performance. You think it's making us colder?
Is whatever sometimes a sign of emotional exhaustion?
Wait, you mean like when people overreact to things?
Yeah.
Or just making a big deal out of something small to hide what's actually going on?
Okay, why do teenagers often use this word?
Because it's the ultimate power move. It gives you a way to stay in control of the conversation without having to explain yourself. Plus, it's a great way to signal you're above it all when you're actually probably stressing out. Ever seen that play out in the classroom?
Do you think indifference affect communications?
Massively. It kills the momentum. You can't build anything real with someone who's just giving you a whatever. It turns a potential connection into a brick wall.
So, can stress make a person emotionally numb?
Definitely. It's like a circuit breaker for the brain. When things get too loud or too heavy for too long, your mind just flips a switch to stop the overload. You stop feeling the bad stuff, but the trade off is you stop feeling the good stuff too. It's the way to survive the noise.
So, what is the difference between speech and indifference?
I think you mean apathy. It's like apathy is when you just don't have the fuel to care, while indifference is more of a choice or a reaction to something specific. One's to avoid, the other's a wall.
Okay. How does rejections include people attitudes?
I think you're asking how rejection shapes the way people act, right? It usually pushes people toward that indifference we were talking about. If you put yourself out there and get shut down, the instinct is to build that wall so it doesn't happen again. It turns into a I didn't even want it anyway kind of vibe.
Does long lines make people careless?
Wait, long lines? Like waiting in line at the DMV or a store? I'm not sure I see the connection to the indifference thing.
Why do some people stop expressing emotions?
Usually because it's just too risky. When you've been burned for being open, the easiest move is to just lock everything down. It's a lot less exhausting to be a closed book than to keep getting read and misunderstood.
Can trauma lead to indifference?
Big time. It's like a survival mechanism. If the pain is too much to handle, the mind just numbs everything out to keep you from crashing. It's not that the person doesn't care, it's that they can't afford to feel it right now.
Is indifference more dangerous than anger?
I'm assuming you mean is indifference more than just an angle, like more than just a front or a way of acting? Yeah, I'd say it is. Um, Sometimes it's not a tactic, it's just where someone has ended up after too much stress or too many letdowns. It's not always a mask, sometimes it's the actual state they're in.
How does mental health connect with emotional withdrawal?
They're basically hand in hand. When you're struggling with things like depression or severe anxiety, the world can start to feel overwhelming. Withdrawing is like pulling the blinds to keep the light out. It's a way to protect yourself when you don't have the energy to engage with people or process emotions. You feel that with a lot of people?
Why do people pretend not to care?
It's the ultimate safety net. If you pretend not to care, you can't be disappointed. It's a way of keeping the upper hand, making sure nobody knows where your weak spots are. You're basically playing a game where the goal is to be the least invested person in the room.
Can silence sometimes say whatever without word?
Absolutely. Silence can be the loudest, whatever there is. When you stop arguing or stop trying to explain yourself and just go quiet, you're basically saying the other person's point doesn't even merit a response. It's that cold shoulder vibe where the silence does all the heavy lifting.
Okay, can you tell me what say in Urdu whatever?
Wait, let me check the best way to put that. Depending on how you're using it, you've got a few options. If you mean it literally, like whatever I want, you'd use Joe B. But if you're using it as that shrug off, that indifferent vibe we've been talking about, it's more like Bahar Hal or even just a dismissive tone. Urdu has a lot of room for that kind of mood. Does that land right?
Okay, how does indifference affect friendships?
I'm guessing you mean indifference, right? It's like slow poison for a friendship. Once you stop caring about the small stuff or stop putting the effort, the connection just starts to fray. It turns a best friend into just someone you used to know.
So, can relationships survive when one person stops caring?
It's a brutal climb. Only if the person who still cares is okay with carrying the entire weight of the relationship. But eventually, most people burn out. You can't keep a fire going if the other person is just pouring water on it.
Why do people ignore others' feeling online?
Because there's a screen between them. It makes people feel like they're interacting with a profile, not a human. It's way easier to be cold or indifferent when you don't have to look someone in the eyes and see their reaction in real time.
Okay, is empathy disappearing in modern society?
That's a big question. I don't think it's disappearing, but it's definitely changing. We're more connected than ever, but it's a lot more superficial. You got empathy as a buzzword, but actual deep understanding takes time and silence, and we're kind of allergic to that now. You think we're just losing the knack for it?
How does family environment shape emotional behavior?
It's basically the blueprint. If you grow up in a house where emotions are welcomed and talked through, you're probably going to be more open. But if you're taught that showing feeling is a weakness or that your emotions are just too much, you learn to shut down. That's usually where that whatever wall starts being built.
Okay, why people ignore others' feeling online?
We actually just touched on this. It's that screen thing again. It's way easier to be cold when you're not looking at a real person. Just a username and profile pic. It turns a human into an abstraction.
So, do people teach emotionally intelligence stuff enough?
Not nearly enough. We're taught how to solve for X in algebra or how to memorize dates in history, but hardly anyone teaches you how to actually handle a panic attack or how to tell someone you're hurt without starting a war. It's usually just stuff people have to figure out on their own through trial and error, which is a pretty messy way to learn.
Can whatever culture affect teamwork?
Big time. It basically kills any real collaboration. Oh, if half the team is just like whatever about the goal or the quality, the whole project just slides. You can't have a winning team when people are just going through the motions without actually being invested.
Why do people avoid difficult conversation?
Because it's just exhausting. Most people would rather like let a problem like fester for months than deal with 10 minutes of awkwardness and tension. It's the fear of the fallout. Like you're worried that once you say the thing, you can't take it back and everything changes. Easier to just keep it bottled up and hope it goes away on its own.
Is emotional detachment become normalized?
I'd say it has. It's almost like a status symbol now. Being the one who cares less is seen as having the most power. We've turned not being bothered into a personality trait, which is a bit wild when you think about it.
How can we support someone who seems emotionally disconnected?
The trick is not to push too hard. If you try to force them to open up, they'll just double down on that wall. The move is to just be a consistent, low pressure presence. Let them know you're there without making them feel like a project that needs fixing. Sometimes just knowing someone's still in their corner, even when they're being distant, is the only thing that actually gets them to let the guard down.
Does excessive screen time root emotionally connection?
I think you're asking if too much stress or strain kills the emotional connection, right? It definitely does. When you're under that much pressure, your brain goes into survival mode. You stop worrying about the deeper connection and just focus on getting through the next hour. It's hard to be emotionally available when you're just trying to keep your head above water.
Why do people react less to serious news nowadays?
I think it's compassion fatigue. We're just hit with like a nonstop like stream of tragedy in our pockets every few seconds. After a while, the brain just shuts off to protect itself, or you'd be in a constant state of panic. It turns the world's problems into just another notification you swipe away. You feel like that's happening?
Is scrolling culture making people emotionally tired?
Totally. It's like a digital treadmill. You're processing 1,000 different lives, opinions, and tragedies in 10 minutes, and your brain just wasn't built for that volume. It drains your emotional battery before you've even had a real conversation with someone in the same room.
Can social media make people feel empty inside?
Yeah, Ken. It's that weird paradox where you're connected to everyone but feel totally alone. You're comparing your behind the scenes mess to everyone else's highlight reel, and it just leaves you feeling like you're missing some secret ingredient to happiness that everyone else has. It's a total vacuum
Why do viral trends lose meaning quickly?
because they're built for speed, not depth. They're designed to be a quick hit of dopamine that everyone does at once. Once the novelty wears off and the next thing pops up, the old one just becomes background noise. It's like
Uh,
fast fashion for the brain, looks cool for a week, then it's just trash. You think it's just a race to the bottom?
do online arguments increase emotionally numbness?
I'd say they do. When you're fighting with a stranger over a screen, it's not a real human interaction. It's just a battle of egos. After a while, you just stop seeing the other person as a human and start seeing them as an obstacle. It's an easy way to train your brain to shut off its empathy switch.
How do influencers shape people attitudes?
It basically set the standard for what's normal or cool now. They can make a certain lifestyle or even a specific way of reacting to things look effortless and desirable. The danger is when they promote that detached or above it all vibe, because then a whole generation thinks that being emotionally distant is the move. It's like they're selling a version of life that's like that's like that's like filtered to death. You see that happen a lot.
Okay, its technology bring people closer or further apart.
It's a double-edged sword. Brings the logistics closer. You can talk to someone across the world in a second, but it often pushes the actual connection further apart. We've traded quality for quantity. We're in touch with everyone, but we're not necessarily connected to anyone. You think we're losing the art of actually being present?
Why do people seek validation online but act indifference offline?
Because the stakes are completely different. Online, you can curate your perfect self and get a hit of dopamine from people who don't actually know you. It's a safe space to be brave because there are no real world consequences. But offline, you've got a real human in front of you, and that's where the fear of actual judgment or rejection kicks in. So you put the armor back on. It's a lot easier to be a hero in a comment section than to be vulnerable in the living room.
Can digital detox help people reconnect emotionally?
They can, but only if the goal is actually to be present. If it's just about following a trend or checking a box, it's just more of the same. But if someone actually puts the phone down to make room for silence and a real conversation, that's where the magic happens. You think people are actually willing to do that now?
How can young people stay emotionally healthy?
The biggest thing is probably learning how to unplug. Um, Not just turning off the phone, but actually letting yourself feel things without needing to post about it or get someone else's approval. Finding a few people you can be a totally unfiltered version of yourself with, and maybe carving out some space for that silence we were talking about earlier. Just not letting the algorithm run the show of your emotions. You think that's even possible for most people your age?
What advice would you give to someone to say nothing's matter?
I'd tell them to start small, stop looking at the big, overwhelming picture, and just focus on the tiny, real things, like the way a specific song hits you or a conversation that actually felt honest. Remind them that the whatever wall is a lie. It's just a way to avoid the risk of being hurt, but it also blocks out everything that actually makes life feel vivid. I tell them it's worth the risk to care about something, even if it's just one small thing, because the alternative is just existing
How can
grayscale.
how can communities encourage empathy?
I think it starts with normalizing the mess. We spend so much time pretending everything's fine or acting detached, but when a community actually creates space for people to be honest about their struggles without judgment, the walls start to come down. Just making it okay to say, I'm not all right without it being a big deal. You think that's something people would actually be open to?
What message would you give to people struggling emotionally?
I would tell them they're not as alone as they think. Even when you're in that numb phase where everything feels like a whatever, just remember that feeling. Nothing is often just a way of feeling too much at once. It's okay to take it slow, and it's okay to not have all the answers. Just keep holding on to the small, real things because the noise eventually settles and the color comes back. You're worth the effort it takes to get through it.
So finally, Miles, what does living with purpose mean to you?
For me, it's about not letting the autopilot take over. It's choosing to be invested in the things that actually matter instead of just drifting through a series of whatevers. It's about finding those few things that make you feel alive and doubling down on them, even when it's easier to be indifferent. Just being present and actually feeling the weight of your own life, for better or worse. That's the real win.
Thank you everyone for joining today live discussion on whatever a journey through indifference. Today we learned that began to behind the word whatever there was a stress, pain, loneliness, emotional exhaustion, or even a silent cry for help. Being emotional aware and caring for others can make a huge difference in society. That shows empathy and indifference communication, our silence and kindness, our negativity. See you in the next in the next live session with another meaningful topic. Until then, they stay positive, stay kind, and take care to your mental health. Allah Hafiz.